We need to return to the days when this country was really resilient. And those days were all about community. There was no disconnect in the community. When a church bell rang, the entire community came to find out why it was ringing, what they could do, how they were supposed to be involved, or what the warning was. Neighbors knew neighbors. And so when we look at a community, we try to gather every entity in that community.
Imagine you can see wind speeds of over 70 miles an hour for that distance sustained.
Right. If you can imagine, a lot of these storms are only moving at 12, 14 miles an hour. So if you can imagine a tornado here in Hays, Kansas, and we suddenly start to feel those tornadic winds here, and now that tornado is going to travel at 12 miles an hour towards us and then pass us. I mean, that's what it's like. It's that kind of a...
So what happens when all of a sudden it's no longer on your television? What happens when all of a sudden you're the family in Virginia that's gone 3 weeks without water? What happens when that happens to you and it's no longer on the other side of the glass? When you can't change the channel, when you can't turn the volume down? Because when it happens in your community, there is no mute button. If that's true, then our job in emergency management is to start trying to imagine what lies beyond that. If we've seen 3 times as many disasters in the last decade than we saw back in the 1980s, and we can look at the statistics, and we've been going over these case studies, then it's up to us now to try to imagine and prepare for what lies beyond, because everything that we've been experiencing was beyond what we imagined before. So if we can't think past that, we're going to be nowhere near ready when it finally gets here at our doorstep. We believe that identification of these at-risk volunteers with longitudinal surveillance is critical for future disaster planning, to provide training for volunteers and workers, and to allow for deployment of appropriate resources pre, during, and post-deployment. We've got to start looking at critical stress as one of the immediate effects of major disasters. See, they call it critical infrastructure for a reason. It's critical because we have to have it. And if our critical infrastructure is crumbling, then we're in trouble. Roads, bridges, energy, water, even the food supply. The loss of any one of these can bring an entire region, if not the country, to its knees. It's not just the collapse of critical resources that can wreak havoc. See, it's the inherent interdependency within these systems. It's the potential for a domino effect of failures. If one thing goes, the next thing goes, then the next thing goes, then the next thing. You see, the complex nature of public and private interests in critical infrastructure makes us probably more vulnerable than any other country in the world. So look at the screen. So the feds throw out these new regulations that would require the following things. In the event of a disaster, hospitals, nursing facilities, and group homes would need to have plans that would maintain emergency lighting, maintain fire safety systems, maintain sewage, and maintain waste disposal during power losses. They would be required to maintain temperatures at a safe level for patients. They would be required to be able to track patients and to provide care at an alternate site if something happened to theirs, like what happened in Joplin. The industry, and that's why I'm saying that climate change has become a risk management issue, particularly given the uncertainty about exactly how bad the impacts are going to be and when. We've been surprised every year. We need to look at the breakdown of infrastructure in the face of extreme weather. Now package all of this with the need to have new protocols, new policies in place before all of this happens so that it doesn't affect your industry. This is why we're looking at the case study that we're looking at.